Welcome to our channel. Today, we're taking you on an epic journey through time, exploring the entire history of human civilization from ancient beginnings to the modern world. How did we evolve from simple communities to complex societies, building empires and eventually the interconnected world we live in today? Sit back, relax, and let's dive into this incredible story of human progress, innovation, and resilience. Hey, let's dive into a topic that's sure to get you thinking: the clash between the biblical stories many of us have grown up with and the hard evidence archaeologists have uncovered over the years. The Bible often presents itself as a flawless historical record. But here's the problem: when you line it up against what we actually know from history, things don't always add up. And I'm not just talking about subtle differences or vague interpretations. I mean clear contradictions between what's written in the Bible and what ancient history tells us. Take the story of Noah's flood, for example. You've probably heard it a million times. A righteous man builds a massive ark, saves a bunch of animals, and repopulates the earth. It's a Sunday school classic. But here's where it gets interesting. This isn't the only story of a great flood. In fact, a very similar account appears in the Epic of Gilgamesh, a Sumerian text that was written centuries before the Bible. So, this raises a big question. Did the Bible borrow this flood story from earlier sources? And if it did, what does that mean for the Bible's claim to divine inspiration? Are we looking at sacred scripture, or could it be a reworked collection of ancient myths? Myths are fascinating, but let's tackle one of the Bible's most epic tales, the Exodus. You know the story. Moses leads the Israelites out of Egypt, parts the Red Sea, and they escape slavery. It's one of the most dramatic and iconic narratives in history, embedded deep in our cultural consciousness. But here's the twist. There's no solid archaeological evidence that the Israelites were ever slaves in Egypt. Nothing in the Egyptian records mentions them, and there's no trace of a massive migration across the Sinai desert. So, what if this story didn't happen as described? What if it's actually a nationalistic myth created to build a sense of identity for the Israelites long after the fact? That's the kind of question historians are wrestling with. Now, let's shift gears to the development of monotheism. We often think of ancient Israel as a shining example of monotheism, a people always worshiping one God, Yahweh. But archaeology tells a different story. Early Israelites weren't strictly monotheistic. They worshipped multiple gods, and Yahweh was just one among many. There was even a goddess named Asherah, who some believed was Yahweh's consort. That's right, the very idea of Yahweh as the one true God didn't start out that way. It developed over time. So, the version of biblical history many hold on to today? It's not as straightforward as it seems. Let's be clear, this isn't just about poking holes in the Bible for the fun of it. It's about realizing that the version of history most of us learned isn't as straightforward as it seems. The Bible, despite its massive influence, isn't a history book. It's a document of faith. It's filled with symbolism and stories meant to teach lessons. But when it comes to cold, hard facts, things get a bit murky. Now that we've peeled back some layers of the biblical narrative and its contradictions with historical evidence, let's switch gears. Let's head to ancient Sumer around 4500 BC, see the birthplace of civilization. This is where it all began. Cities, writing, laws, all emerging from a small region in Mesopotamia. But here's the question: how did these people, with no advanced tools or complex engineering knowledge, suddenly leap from simple farming communities to building intricate cities and inventing systems we still use today? One explanation is pure human ingenuity. As resources, population, and survival pressures grew, humans adapted. The brain kicked into overdrive, and suddenly, boom, civilization was born. It's a testament to the incredible adaptability and creativity of the human spirit. But there's another angle to this story that's been gaining traction: supernatural intervention. Some believe that early civilizations had a little help, not just from the gods, but brace yourself, from extraterrestrials. Before you roll your eyes, hear me out. The ancient Sumerians recorded stories of beings descending from the sky gods like Anu, Enki, and Inanna, who supposedly guided them, teaching them the arts of civilization. These weren't just mystical tales. The Sumerians took them as literal truths. So, could it be that their rapid rise wasn't just a product of human ingenuity, but the result of some outside influence? Some argue that these so-called gods might have been visitors from another world, giving humanity a little nudge in the right direction. And it's not just Sumer. Take a look at the Nazca lines in Peru, massive geoglyphs carved into the earth, only fully visible from the sky. The precision, the scale, how did a pre-technological society pull that off without something or someone guiding them? Coincidence? Maybe. Or maybe we've been underestimating the possibilities of ancient contact from beyond our world. Now, here's where things get even more intriguing: the pyramids. Whether it's in Egypt, Mesoamerica, or even China, these massive structures seem to pop up all over the world, built by civilizations that, as far as we know, had no contact with each other. Yet, they all created these monumental pyramid-shaped designs. So, was this just a case of parallel human development? Or was something else at play? And if so, what could it have been? Now, I'm not saying aliens built the pyramids, but think about it. The speed of technological advancement in some of these early civilizations, their shared architectural wonders, and their repeated references to beings from the sky, it all suggests there might be a missing piece to the puzzle. Is it really so far-fetched to consider that maybe, just maybe, they weren't figuring it all out on their own? We've already questioned how ancient Sumer managed to make such rapid strides. So let's shift our focus to Egypt, arguably one of the most fascinating and mysterious empires in history. We all know the iconic pyramids, the powerful pharaohs, and the intricate hieroglyphs. But the real question is, how did Egypt rise to such extraordinary heights of power and knowledge so quickly? What was their secret? Egypt is particularly fascinating because of how seamlessly they intertwined their religious beliefs with governance and technological progress. Unlike the gods of Sumer, who were seen as teachers of practical skills, the Egyptian pharaohs weren't just rulers, they were considered living gods on earth. Their authority wasn't purely political, it was profoundly spiritual. When you dive into ancient texts, like the pyramid texts, you see a recurring theme: the pharaoh's direct connection to the cosmos. Their ascension rituals were all about joining the stars and achieving immortality. Now, think about the pyramids of Giza, standing tall for thousands of years. How did they manage to build such massive structures with incredible precision, aligning them almost perfectly with celestial bodies like Orion's belt? Even today, modern engineers are still puzzled by the techniques used to construct them. So, were the Egyptians just way ahead of their time? Or did they possess knowledge, maybe even help from somewhere beyond this world? It's a question that keeps sparking curiosity. Now, compare this with the biblical narrative. The Bible presents a much more human-centered view of kingship. Leaders are chosen by God to rule over the people, but they're still very much mortal, flawed, complex, and deeply human. It's a stark contrast to the divine authority claimed by the Egyptian pharaohs, raising even more questions about the true nature, ancient power, and knowledge. In the Bible, kings like David or Solomon are wise, but they're still very much human, not divine. Egypt, on the other hand, flipped this concept entirely. Their pharaohs weren't just appointed by the gods, they were gods. They believed their rulers had direct access to powers that transcended earthly limitations, making their authority not just political, but profoundly spiritual. This divine status didn't just give the pharaohs control over their people, it fueled an obsession with the afterlife, leading to the construction of monumental tombs like the Great Pyramid, designed to ensure the pharaoh's journey to the stars. These structures were not just burial sites, but cosmic launch pads, symbolizing a direct connection to the heavens. Now, here's a twist you probably didn't hear much about in Sunday school: Pharaoh Akhenaten, often called the heretic king. He did something radical he threw out Egypt's traditional polytheistic beliefs and introduced a form of monotheism centered around the worship of a single god, the sun disk Aten. Sound familiar? Monotheism. But this shift happened over 1,000 years before the Israelites were said to have embraced their own belief in one God. Akhenaten's ideas were so controversial that after his death, the Egyptians tried to erase him from history altogether. But it begs the question, did the concept of one God originate in Egypt, not Israel? When you compare this to the biblical narrative, it opens up a whole new line of thought. The Bible tells a very different story about where monotheism began, and the contrast is fascinating. The Bible portrays the Israelites as a chosen people, the first and only ones to worship the one true God, Yahweh. But if Akhenaten's brief experiment with monotheism happened centuries earlier, the Israelites weren't exactly pioneers. They were part of a larger, older pattern that included the Egyptians, raising the possibility that their religious ideas weren't as unique as often thought. Egypt's influence on biblical history runs deeper than just religious concepts. Take Moses, for example, the iconic leader who supposedly led the Israelites out of slavery in Egypt. Yet, many scholars argue that there's no solid historical evidence for the Exodus. And if Moses did exist, there's a chance he wasn't leading a slave rebellion at all. Instead, he might have been influenced by Egypt's own religious shifts. Could Moses' concept of one God have been inspired by Akhenaten's failed religious revolution? After exploring the mysterious rise of civilizations and Egypt's obsession with divine authority, let's shift to something we can't ignore: the darker side of history. While Egypt built its empire through a blend of spiritual and political power, others chose a more ruthless path. War, slavery, and empire building weren't just unfortunate footnotes. They were the harsh reality of how power was often seized and maintained across the ancient world. Throughout history, war, conquest, and slavery have been the engines driving the rise and fall of some of the world's most powerful civilizations. Take Rome, for example, often celebrated as the pinnacle of a sophisticated empire, bringing law, order, and architectural wonders to the known world. But peel back the grandeur and you see a different reality. Rome was built on conquest, enslavement, and sheer dominance. The Roman legions didn't march into foreign lands with olive branches. They came with swords, enslaving entire populations and using them to power their economic machine. Slaves were the backbone of Roman society, gladiators fighting for their lives in the Colosseum, house servants attending to the elite, and laborers toiling in the fields. Rome's world wasn't built on ideals. It was built on blood. Now, the Bible doesn't shy away from the topic of slavery either. It's woven throughout the Old Testament, from the story of the Israelites being enslaved in Egypt to their eventual liberation by Moses. But here's the uncomfortable truth. While the Bible condemns the slavery of the Israelites, it also condones it when it comes to others. Leviticus 25:44-46 speaks about acquiring slaves from surrounding nations and treating them as property. It's a strange contradiction. On one hand, you have a story of deliverance and freedom, and on the other, an endorsement of the very practice it condemns elsewhere. This duality raises complex questions about the nature of power, morality, and how civilizations, even those with noble ideals, have justified their darkest practices. Our story begins over 10,000 years ago during the Neolithic Revolution. This was a period when humans transitioned from nomadic hunter-gatherer lifestyles to settled agricultural communities. This shift allowed humans to produce surplus food, which led to the growth of populations and the establishment of permanent settlements. One of the earliest known civilizations emerged in Mesopotamia, around 3,500 BCE in the area known as the Fertile Crescent. Here, humans built the first cities, developed writing, and created complex social structures. Meanwhile, similar advancements were taking place in the Indus Valley, Egypt, and China. These early societies laid the groundwork for future empires and sophisticated cultures by inventing key aspects of civilization like law, trade, and religion. As societies grew, so did their ambitions. The ancient Egyptians built one of the longest-lasting civilizations, famous for their pyramids, pharaohs, and advanced knowledge of mathematics, astronomy, and medicine. At the same time, ancient Greece was flourishing, giving rise to philosophy, democracy, and art. Think of Socrates, Plato, and Aristotle. They were the minds that shaped the Western world's approach to ethics, politics, and knowledge. But it was the Roman Empire that truly set the standard for global power. With its vast territories, roads, and legal systems, Rome connected different parts of Europe, North Africa, and the Middle East under a single rule. The legacies of these ancient empires still resonate today, influencing everything from our legal systems to our architecture. After the fall of Rome, Europe entered what is often called the Dark Ages, a time of political fragmentation, economic decline, and cultural stagnation. However, this period was also marked by the rise of new powers, such as the Byzantine Empire, and the spread of religions like Islam and Christianity. The Islamic Golden Age, from the 8th to 14th centuries, was a period of significant intellectual achievements in science, mathematics, and medicine, while Europe experienced a cultural rebirth during the Renaissance. This revival in arts, literature, and science was inspired by the rediscovery of Greek and Roman knowledge, leading to monumental figures like Leonardo da Vinci, Michelangelo, and Galileo, who paved the way for modern science and exploration. The 15th century marked the beginning of the Age of Exploration, where European powers set sail across the oceans to discover new lands. This era led to the exchange of goods, ideas, and cultures, but also brought about colonization, exploitation, and the tragic Atlantic slave trade. The Exploration Age coincided with the Enlightenment, a movement that emphasized reason, science, and the rights of individuals. Philosophers like John Locke, Voltaire, and Montesquieu challenged traditional authority, laying the intellectual groundwork for revolutions in America, France, and beyond. This was a period when people began to see themselves not just as subjects of a ruler, but as individuals with inherent rights and freedoms. The Industrial Revolution in the 18th and 19th centuries was a turning point in human history, transforming societies from agrarian economies to industrial powerhouses. This period saw the rise of factories, urbanization, and technological innovation, which dramatically improved living standards, but also created social and environmental challenges. The 20th century brought two world wars, the Cold War, and remarkable advances in science and technology, leading to the digital age we live in today. The internet, smartphones, and global trade have made our world more connected than ever before, yet the challenges of inequality, climate change, and political instability remain. As we move forward, the lessons of history remind us of the potential for human achievement, as well as the need for cooperation and compassion. As we delve deeper into the 21st century, we are faced with unprecedented global challenges that require collective action. Climate change stands at the forefront, threatening ecosystems, economies, and human health. Extreme weather events, rising sea levels, and biodiversity loss are not just environmental issues. They are humanitarian crises that affect the most vulnerable populations. Alongside climate concerns, we grapple with political instability, economic inequality, and the rise of misinformation, which can undermine democratic institutions. The COVID-19 pandemic highlighted the interconnectedness of our world, showing how a health crisis in one part of the globe can have ripple effects everywhere. As we move forward, collaboration between nations, communities, and individuals is essential. Innovative solutions like renewable energy technologies and sustainable practices are crucial for building resilience against these global challenges. The decisions we make today will shape the future trajectory of human civilization. The role of technology in shaping our future cannot be overstated. From artificial intelligence and biotechnology to virtual reality and space exploration, we are on the brink of a technological revolution that promises to transform every aspect of our lives. AI, for instance, has the potential to enhance productivity and drive innovations in healthcare, education, and beyond. However, with great power comes great responsibility. Ethical considerations surrounding data privacy, job displacement, and algorithmic bias must be at the forefront of technological advancement. Moreover, the quest for space exploration presents both opportunities and challenges. As private companies embark on missions to Mars and beyond, we must consider the implications for human life and the environment. Will we treat new worlds with the same respect we often neglect on Earth? The balance between innovation and ethical responsibility will define the next chapter in human civilization. As globalization continues to shape our world, cultural exchange has never been more prominent. The interconnectedness of societies through travel, trade, and the internet has led to a rich tapestry of shared ideas and practices. However, this cultural blending raises questions about identity, heritage, and the potential for cultural homogenization. Welcome to Blessovia Science TV, where we take you on an exhilarating journey through the cosmos and unravel the mysteries of science. We are excited to offer you the opportunity to become a valued member of our ever-growing community of cosmic enthusiasts and knowledge seekers. Exclusive access to cosmic content. As a member of Blessovia Science TV, you will gain exclusive access to a treasure trove of cosmic content, including documentaries, interviews with leading scientists, space missions updates, and awe-inspiring visualizations of the universe, live Q, and sessions with experts. Your membership will grant you the chance to participate in live Q and sessions with renowned scientists, astronomers, and space explorers. Get your burning questions answered by those who push the boundaries of human knowledge. Embark on a journey that spans the cosmos and join us in unraveling the secrets of the universe. Become a Blessovia Science TV member today, and together we will reach for the stars. Thanks for watching. Subscribe, like, and share. Don't forget to leave your comment.